Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1232, written by GenericNick, Galileo's Eerie Alien Secret. Some years ago, me and my brother were watching Galileo, a German TV show. Advertisement break came on, and I was about to leave the room during a car ad I knew. I don't remember the brand. It showed a normal car hidden beneath the body of a race car. Suddenly, the picture became grainy, accompanied by white noise audio, while the image morphed to show what looked like a very convincing alien. It had a cone-shaped head with no apparent neck. The screen cut off just below what looked like the upper end of a shirt. Its skin was covered with thick, greedy fur. It slowly turned its face towards the camera. I could see two eyes and a mouth. It then bellowed a few noises to the side, and the image morphed back to show the end of the car ad. My brother confirmed he'd seen it as well. It wasn't part of the original car ad, and as far as we could tell, it also wasn't part of some viral campaign. We never found any mention of it anywhere. Case notes file 1232. Galileo's Eerie Alien Secret. Well, that's the end of my night if it ever happened to me, that's for sure. I have a phobia of watching TV or a show on my computer, and then it transitions into where the characters know I'm watching them, and they start watching me. I don't think there's a word for this exactly, for this fear. I don't know it. But anyways, this would qualify. With the added alien horror twist, and you know it's not all in your mind since your brother saw it too. Was it a hacked broadcast? That used to happen a lot back in the day. There's a Max Headroom that comes to mind. But given that there were no accounts of anyone else reporting this, if it was a hacked broadcast, a ton of people would have seen it. If it wasn't a hacked broadcast, then some aliens messing with you? I always wanted to be aliens, but they probably have stuff better to do than just messing with a random person's broadcast. Case file number 1233, written by frooglekade. My middle school friend was a wizard. 6th grade was a messed up time in my life. My best friend would tell me he was a wizard. At first I scoffed because middle school people make up stuff all the time. He told me he had a mastery of snow and ice and could lower air temperature. He also told me he could visit people in their dreams. One day, at the end of the day, I asked him to prove it. We were all crowded around the door waiting for the bell to ring when in something like 2 to 3 seconds, the air temperature dropped about 20 degrees. I started to freak out and asked everyone if they felt how cold it was. They were all hugging themselves. I was really freaked out. I thought about it for the rest of the week, I'm sure. Another instance was I dreamed I was a NASCAR driver and I saw my friend in the crowd. I woke up and went to school, and before I had said a word to him, he asked me if I enjoyed being in the race. Another period of freakout, and I distanced myself from him for a while. His dream visits continued and continued to freak me out. I didn't like the idea that even my own brain wasn't safe. Eventually I told him I didn't want to be his friend anymore because I was not comfortable around him anymore. I asked him to stop visiting my dreams. He did. He later told me that he gave up messing with magic and we became friends again slowly. He later would switch schools, but I remember that in 8th grade, I was on the bench during one of my basketball games and I was speaking with my friend when his name came up in casual conversation. My friend told me a story about when the first friend touched his arm and it went numb and became cold to the touch. Anyway, I have never been able to explain this, probably never will. Case notes file 1233. My middle school friend was a wizard. It feels pretty cool how all this is rationally explainable to me. Beyond your friend being a wizard, which has a certain childlike appeal, even into adulthood. After all, I'm still waiting for my Hogwarts letter, hasn't arrived yet. Looking around for owls. To drop the temperature in the room required significant energy drain. All that heat energy. We know spirits can accomplish this, so why not our own soul that is tethered or embedded within our own bodies? A spirit is just detached from the body, but it's still there. Your friend discovered how to will that energy drain from his own soul, so basically siphoning energy into his own soul. I wonder if he felt like more energized after that. I don't think you feel your soul, so probably not, but it's interesting. And then dreamscaping, well, projecting his soul into your mind as you slumber. Nothing particularly wild about that for us, we know about that going on. What is wild is the fact that he had mastery and control over this ability. I mean, I've never heard of someone having that level of control over it. That's what's spectacular. I wonder if evolution is at play though. Some random mutation that altered his mind sufficient to be more able to directly interface and control his soul. I think even the CIA was trying to study this, seeing if you could remote view areas. So not directly in people or their dreams, but still like physical areas of the world. And I think there was some success with it. So maybe some people, very rare, have that ability to control their soul more, direct it, almost like a pet. Creepy file number 107, written by Wiskie, haunting at the cliffs of Moher. 2 summers ago, west coast of Ireland, my family, a bunch of Americans, led by my crazy old man, are rushing to see the famous cliffs of Moher before sundown. We arrive at the cliffs of Moher around approximately midnight, and of course the national park is closed. There is only one other, abandoned, vehicle at the far end of the parking lot. Naturally, Dad decides we're going to see the cliffs no matter what. So 4 of us, my dad, myself, and 2 of my brothers, hop over the gate and begin our ascent. We crack some jokes about the Garda coming up to arrest us as we do. We can hear the waves of the Atlantic Ocean crashing up against the cliffs, but we can't see much at all. The only light is that of the moon and the stars. Now, I don't know how many of you have actually been or seen the cliffs of Moher, but they're actually a pretty cool thing. There's a big set of stone stairs leading up to a ridge that overlooks them. At the peak of this ridge, I see an old, medieval-looking tower. I'm a little loopy from sitting in a packed minibus for several hours of driving, so I pretend I'm a Viking storming the castle. I start gallivanting up the stairs, probably causing a ruckus as I go, and I start to get away from the others. Finally, get to a point where I need to take a breather, and I look to my left to hopefully get some sort of view of the water. But there, looking out over the sea, is a woman, mid-20s I'd say, dressed in dark but modern clothes. And she's just standing there, staring at the horizon. I froze. I don't make a sound. She turns around and looks at me. I can't make out her features, but she doesn't seem friendly or happy to see me. Maybe 10 seconds pass. I hear my family members coming up the steps. The girl turns and just guns it down the stairs. She's at the point where my family is and just runs right past them, ignoring my dad's jovial, "Hello." She runs all the way to her car. The one parked at the far end of the lot, apparently, and speeds away. That's it, she's gone. Weirder thing was that we came back the next day when it was light, and I went to where she was standing. In the stone, there was a little image drawn. Could have been a fleur-de-lis or maybe a face, something symbolic, but I'll never know. So we began to speculate. Was she a jumper about to commit herself to the sea? Was she tossing ashes over the cliff? Was it a true to form banshee? All I know is that it kinda scared the crap out of me. Case notes for the creepy file number 107, haunting at the cliffs of Moher. So reading your description makes me excited to visit the cliffs of Moher one day. Never been to Ireland, but it's always been interesting to go. The Irish spirit is pretty strong. Had to be given the famine. I mean, if your culture evolves from that, it's going to be pretty hardy. I'm reminded of the scene in Harry Potter with Dumbledore just apparating on a cliffside on the edge of a coastline in a tumultuous sea, waves crashing on this little cliffside. They're kind of in the ocean, but just near the coastline. I mean, such a nice scene and amazing music too. What a sight that'd be in real life though. And I doubt she was a banshee. Those creatures are terrors to hear. They also don't drive cars. It would be a very modernized banshee, boss babe going to work. Just don't be around when they scream or they get angry. And now time for the facts of the day. The circulatory system is more than 60,000 miles long. This fact really just represents that we have so much, you could say circuitry in our body. It's more like plumbing, I guess. There's a lot of tiny capillaries, tiny veins, and then, of course, the larger arteries. But there's so many of them. And your blood is constantly flowing through all of it, all the time. Your heart is pumping along, keeping that pressure elevated and blood circulating. I find the human body as fascinating as space. Even though I don't really understand it, I'm not a doctor, wouldn't even approach that. But I have another fear of any needles going in my veins. It's not just a fear too, I have a physical response. If I need to get my blood taken or anything, when the needle goes in, I feel odd, a bit, lightheaded and everything, but I'm okay. Then when the needle comes out, my body like shuts down. My heart rate collapses, blood pressure collapses. At one time I even fainted. It's not the pain. The pain is, annoying, but it's fine. It's just a physical reaction to it. My body really does not like anything going into my vein. And fact number 2, we only recently learned how bumblebees fly. Because if you look at the weight of a bumblebee, and then the mass of their wings and how fast they can move it, well, if the wing goes up and down and generates lift just on the downward push, it's not enough. They wouldn't be able to fly. Bumblebees actually go back and forth, more of a horizontal flow. And this creates a type of lift that is in both directions. And when you do both directions, then the weight of the wings is enough to generate enough lift. So it's pretty cool that not just, it was like in 2000 or something that they figured it out, but just goes to show you that there's a lot of little mysteries that maybe don't get a lot of focus because they're not that important, but we didn't have it figured out for, quite a while. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony, signing off.